Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Previously, when it came to this section of our portfolios, mine specifically, this was not an area that I was well informed on or really even that motivated to dig deep into. I think I just kind of like put things here that I felt like were relevant to this section. But I decided that this year I would take time and dig deep into the TSTEM blueprint as well as those CCRS standards. Making sure that I understood what is the blueprint, what does it mean, how is that applicable to our school and my classroom specifically. Um, so yeah, I feel like that is important. There are things that I was already doing in my classroom previously that do prove alignment to both the TSTEM blueprint and the CCRS standards, college and career readiness standards. Um, but to know the why behind it and understand the framework of the blueprint is actually super helpful. Just another reason why the portfolios are so effective to have us reflect on our um, selves and our performance as teachers. But anyways, the first thing that stood out to me when I was reading through the blueprint was the section that talks about the rigorous course of study. And this is a conversation that I feel like has been ongoing between um, curriculum and I, as well as in PLCs with other teachers and as a team, just showing concern for protecting the rigor of our school, but also meeting students where they are and supporting them at their present level. While also holding them accountable to the rigorous course of study that is appropriate for our model and in alignment with the TSTEM blueprint. So that stood out to me because that was something that I felt like was a concern for me this year, but I didn't have that language or know that it was actually in the blueprint already. So a couple of benchmarks stood out to me as applicable to me specifically in our school. Benchmark 4, 5, and 6. Benchmark 4, number 4, talks about biannual structured data review and being able to identify scholars' strengths and weaknesses while also creating personalized instructional support plans. This is something that we currently do with benchmarks. For me personally, that's where we sit down and we assess where students are and how to help them all grow. We do this with MAPS testing, CDAs, RTI. All of those are ongoing times where we sit down and have those structured data review moments as a school. Benchmark number 5, number 3A, talks about career awareness and exploration. This is also something that recently, as an adult, I have realized that I did not have very much exposure to different careers or options that were out there for me. I think that the only way I knew about careers whenever like whenever I was in high school or in grade school was just association in life. If I knew people that were in that career, that was how I knew about it. But I don't feel like that I was taught about the different careers that are options. And so I've tried to intentionally introduce different careers so that scholars are just aware of their options, what they know is out there. I think with PBLs, being able to put them in intentional real world situations where maybe it is a vocational PBL where they are stepping into a job role, or just mentioning how content could be applied in a real world career. I think that's important and definitely something I would like to explore for our students. Are we exposing them to careers so that they aren't just stuck being a doctor, teacher, or plumber because they only know those three professions through life experience. Benchmark 6 seemed to be the most jam-packed for me. It talks about wraparound strategies and services with multiple stakeholders, the stakeholders being parents, teachers, counselors, and the community. This is something that I feel like our school does really well, but definitely potential for growth, especially in the community aspect. I think that we do really well with having parents and teachers working together along with growing that counseling aspect as well. But yeah, I think that having those multiple stakeholders is something that we're doing well, as well as the wraparound strategies, making sure that we have supported student success in many different ways. 6.1 talks about layered academic support and personalized learning. I feel like this is something that we're doing with the personalized learning that we are implementing in different ways in different content areas, but making sure that we are individually addressing the needs of our scholars, being aware of where they are and what they need to achieve growth and success. 6.1b talks about the intervention, remediation, and acceleration, as well as 6.1c talks about tutorials. I think we also do a really great job of this, and something that I learned in the classroom as I looked back at data was making sure that I wasn't spending all of my time focusing on intervention or my lower students, but also addressing the needs of those that are on grade level or those that are above, and pushing them into that master's category and extending content and assignments to challenge them and make sure that they are growing as well. With tutorials, I have tutorials 2 days a week, making sure that it is data driven and personalized to them based on their scores and which TEKs they need help with. 6.2 talks about layered social and emotional support. Again, with the leader in me and the many new counselors that we have on staff this year, as well as the interns, I feel like we're doing a really good job building up that social and emotional support system. I think that the leader in me has given not only the students but teachers and staff members a really valuable set of vocabulary to use, as well as a way to reflect on situations that's healthy. So that's been really valuable to implement and explore, not only for our students but as teachers as well. 6.2D talks about skill building instruction. Are we teaching them time management, collaboration, and interpersonal skills? And I think that I could confidently say that that's something that is going on in my classroom. Students are constantly working in groups. They are working independently. There's very little sit and get. There's a lot of exploration. There's a lot of collaboration. There's also a lot of student choice, and there are times when scholars are extended the freedom to not make positive decisions, and I feel like I do a really good job of not constantly stepping in and redirecting. I think there's value in them experiencing the consequences of maybe we did not do this, maybe we did not manage our time the most effective way, so now I'm getting pulled from a time period that I don't want to be pulled from to finish this. And I see a huge amount of growth with these time management skills and collaboration, as well as interpersonal skills from that 4th to 5th grade year. 4th graders come in and they immediately just want to tell me everything that is wrong and expect me to fix it and mediate every issue. And I think that encouraging them, as well as equipping them with the skills and the vocabulary to solve problems and explore those situations with PBLs and group work and all of those things with playlists and a lot of student choice, scholars are able to build those skills Miss Dawson actually taught me one time. A scholar came to her and they're like, so and so hit me. And she said, well, did you tell them what they did and how it made you feel? And a first grader was like, what? And sure enough, they walked back over to their peer and they were like, hey, you hit me and it made me feel sad and it hurt my feelings. And they resolved it on their own. And I just remember thinking, like, why is this so revolutionary? But that was something really positive that I felt like she was able to teach me, was how to empower them to say, you did this to me, this is how it makes me feel, and them engage in a conversation about it. And while it's not always going to end perfectly, and there are times that we have to step in and we have conversations about that, hey, these are the 3 things that you can do before you come to me, but if those 3 things don't work, I want you to come to me so that I can help solve a problem. I think that that's something that students experience a lot of growth in from those 4th and 5th grade years, because we're implementing those things. 6.2E talks about enrichment opportunities through clubs and competitions. Specifically, this year I did comic book club. It was for 1st through 5th graders, and it was pretty successful. By Christmas break, I had about 20 students that would come every Thursday, and I also helped with academic rodeo. I entered in several art pieces for my 5th graders through my art class that I teach. So overall, I feel like I learned a lot about the TSTEM blueprint and how all the different ways that we are in alignment and things that we could do differently to further align to the blueprint. So there's an area of growth. 21st century skills. I think that this comes without saying that through PBLs, group work, having ambassadors, creating those problem-solving situations, observing presentations from other students, which is something that I prioritize, is taking my students to watch the other scholars present their projects, research projects, rubric workshops, and just encouraging student responsibility and ownership as a whole. All of those things, I think, are working together to build those 21st century skills. That was something that was new to me coming into University Academy. I'd never heard of 21st century skills. And so that's been a really big learning experience for me, something that I've enjoyed learning and encouraged others to dig into as well. Student engagement, having students engaged at a high level. I think that through the scaffolding that I use and the hands-on labs and observation statements or stations, PBLs, extensions that I provide for different activities for scholars that are completed, they have extensions that they're able to select from, as well as STEM activities and playlists. There's not ever really a moment that students are saying, oh, I'm finished with everything. There's an ongoing playlist that they're expected to complete by the end of each unit that's in Schoology, and so they're getting to choose from that, but then also work their way through it as they maybe finish stations here and we have others working. They know that they can go and log in and work on that playlist. Again, with the master's level scores that I have, referring back to the data, I think that this is something that I do well, is extending content and challenging those higher students that are often left out, having those STEM activities instead of just saying, okay, you can have free time or something like that, as well as scaffolding work in content delivery as well. The college and career readiness standards, building effective communication of scientific info, So scholars using vocabulary and many different modes of expression. I think that through PBL presentations that happen regularly in class, scholars are able to stand up and present their thoughts and their findings and their solutions, whether they're creating a poster or slides or videos, or they're giving an oral presentation or a written paper. Scholars are learning many different ways to present their ideas and their solutions. And something that I learned in one of my classes was having scholars be required to use a certain amount of vocabulary and bold it whenever they use it so that they're able to go back and count. I had a professor that required us to do that, and at first I loathed it, but by the end of the semester, I was able to see how it was a way to intentionally build vocabulary, but enforce me to use the academic vocabulary that she was intending for us to learn. And so that's something that I've started using with my students. I'll require them to use a certain amount of vocabulary words from our list for that unit, and they have to bold it. And so I think that's a great way to build vocabulary, but also using the vocabulary with them whenever I have conversations and I'm asking those questions to lead conversations. I'm very intentional to either use the vocabulary or ask them to, hey, can you tell me the science word for that? Or can you use your fancy science word to tell me what you just told me? So enforcing that vocabulary, but also reinforcing it by using it when speaking to them. Students had many opportunities to develop their research skills. I had Ms. Hilbig come in, and she taught us all how to properly research as a sixth grader, how to find what we're looking for and also use it responsibly. And so that was something that I explored with sixth grade this year, was independent research. And so Ms. Hilbig was super helpful with that. Collaborative and safe working practice, making sure that I set clear expectations and regularly enforce safe procedures during labs and just class in general. Cognitive skills in science. I think that enforcing the claim evidence reasoning format for responding to a question has been so helpful with this, making sure that they're not just giving an answer, but understanding why they gave that answer and supporting it with the science content. I realize this has gone on a lot longer than expected, but I felt like it was important this year to dig into this because it was a section that I previously neglected, and it was a helpful reflection for myself. So